She was the kind of person people barely noticed. Not because she tried to hide, but because she wasn't the kind of girl who made a fuss. She was quiet, always a little bit apart from the crowd. At school, she sat in the back of the classroom, kept her head low, and spoke only when asked. Her voice was soft, almost too soft to hear sometimes. When she walked down the hall, the noise of other kids laughing and chatting washed over her like a wave she didn't want to ride. Most people didn't think much about her. Some called her shy. Others said she was strange. But she didn't mind. In her own way, she was happy just being by herself. She loved the little things, watching the clouds move across the sky, listening to birds sing, reading old books in the library, and especially singing quietly when no one was around. She didn't sing loud or fancy. She just hummed to herself, a soft melody that came from deep inside. It was like a secret she kept in her heart. Singing made her feel free. When she sang, the worries of school, of being ignored or laughed at, all seemed to disappear for a while. At home, the attic was her favorite place. It was small and dusty, filled with boxes of forgotten things. The window let in the sunlight in a way that made the dust float like tiny stars in the air. There, with the old wooden floor creaking beneath her feet, she would close her eyes and sing. Sometimes it was a song she had heard on the radio. Other times she made up words and melodies that only she knew. No one ever heard her. It was her own secret world. Her family didn't pay much attention to her singing. They had their own troubles and worries. Her parents worked long hours, and her older brother was busy with his friends and sports. At dinner, the conversation was mostly about school, money, or plans for the weekend. No one asked if she liked music or wanted to sing. At school, the other kids had their groups. The loud ones, the cool ones, the funny ones. She was not part of any group. Some days she tried to join in, but the words got stuck in her throat and her hands trembled a little. She hated feeling like she didn't belong. Sometimes she wished she could be bold like the others, to stand in front of the class and speak without fear, but it seemed impossible. One day she overheard a group of students talking about the school talent show. It was a big event held every year, where kids showed what they could do: sing, dance, tell jokes, or play instruments. The winners got applause, prizes, and the chance to perform at the community center. The thought of standing on a stage in front of all those people made her heart beat fast and her palms sweat. She could almost hear the laughter before she even tried, but something inside her stirred, a small, brave voice that said, "What if you tried?" For nights after that, she thought about signing up. She imagined herself standing there, with a microphone in her hand, singing a song that everyone would love. The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. What if she failed? What if they laughed? What if she forgot the words? Despite the fears, the dream kept growing. She started to practice more, not just in the attic, but anywhere she could find a quiet moment. She hummed on the bus, sang softly in the bathroom mirror, and even tried to write her own songs. Each time her voice grew stronger, and so did her hope. Her music teacher was a kind man who noticed her quietness but never pressed her. He believed everyone had something special inside them waiting to shine. She wanted to tell him about her secret singing, but the words wouldn't come out. She worried he would laugh too. Days turned into weeks. The deadline to sign up for the talent show was coming. Her hands shook as she filled out the form. She thought about tearing it up but didn't. She turned it in quietly, hoping no one would notice. At school, the whispers started. "Did you hear? She's going to sing." Some smiled, some rolled their eyes. She felt the weight of their looks and heard the silent doubts in their voices. But she kept her head down and focused on practicing. Every day after school, she met with the music teacher for extra lessons. He helped her breathe correctly, hit the right notes, and believe in herself a little more. Sometimes she stumbled, frustrated that her voice wasn't perfect yet, but he told her, "The heart in your voice is more important than perfect notes." The night before the talent show, she could hardly sleep. Her mind raced with what could go wrong. What if she froze? What if the microphone didn't work? What if they laughed? But then she remembered the attic, the sunlight, and the dust dancing in the air. She remembered the songs she loved, the secret melodies she had created just for herself. She remembered the kind voice of her teacher telling her to believe. When the day finally arrived, she felt like she was carrying a heavy secret inside her chest. She was nervous but also a little proud. Maybe, just maybe, she could show them who she really was. Not the quiet girl in the back, but someone with a voice worth hearing. She had never been on stage before. Even standing in front of the classroom to read out loud made her feel like the ground might swallow her whole. So when the day of the talent show finally arrived, her heart felt like it would burst from her chest. The auditorium was packed with students, parents, and teachers. The bright lights made the stage look even bigger and more frightening. Backstage, the noise was loud and chaotic. Kids were stretching, practicing, and chatting excitedly. Some were calm, others were bouncing on their toes, full of energy. She hugged the small piece of paper with her song's name written on it and tried to steady her shaking hands. She kept thinking about the first note. How would it sound? Would it be clear and strong or shaky and weak? Would the crowd listen or start laughing? The fear wrapped around her like a heavy blanket, making it hard to breathe. One by one, the acts went on stage. There was a boy who did magic tricks, making coins disappear and reappear. The crowd clapped politely. A group of girls danced with bright costumes, moving in time with the music. A boy with a guitar sang a song about summer and friends. Each act seemed better than the last, and with every cheer, her nerves grew stronger. Finally, the announcer called her name. The room fell quieter. Her heart jumped. It was her turn. She walked slowly onto the stage, the bright lights blinding her at first. She could barely see the faces in the crowd, just a sea of eyes looking at her. Her throat felt dry. She held the microphone tightly, almost too tight, and took a deep breath. Then she sang the first note. It was not perfect. In fact, it was shaky and a little off-key. She heard a few snickers and whispers from the back of the room. Some faces scrunched up in confusion, others smiled in disbelief. She froze for a moment, unsure what to do next. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment, and her mind screamed at her to run off the stage and hide forever. But then, somewhere deep inside, a small voice told her to keep going. So she did. With each word and each note that followed, her confidence grew a little. Her voice steadied. The song started to sound more like she imagined. But it was too late. The laughter had begun. She could feel the eyes of her classmates on her, not with admiration but with amusement. Some whispered to each other. Some even chuckled openly. The room wasn't quiet anymore. It was filled with the sound of people laughing at her. Her hands shook more and the microphone felt heavy. She looked down at the floor and hurried through the rest of the song as quickly as she could. When she finished, the applause was polite but distant, like people clapping out of duty, not because they truly liked what they heard. She didn't wait for the final score or the next act. She ran off the stage, tears burning in her eyes. The bright lights now felt like they were mocking her. She wanted to disappear, to be somewhere far away where no one could laugh at her voice. Backstage, the noise seemed to grow louder. She pressed her hands over her ears to block it out. She tried to steady her breathing but couldn't. She felt small and broken. She heard someone calling her name. She wiped her tears quickly and turned. It was the music teacher. He didn't laugh. He didn't look disappointed. Instead, he smiled gently and said, "Hey, that was brave. I know it wasn't perfect, but you showed courage to get up there." "That's the hardest part," she shook her head. "They laughed at me. I'm no good. I should never have tried." He crouched down to her level. "Everyone has to start somewhere. The first step is the hardest. I heard something in your voice, and something real. If you want, I can help you get better." She didn't answer right away. She wanted to believe him, but the sting of laughter was still fresh. The fear of facing the crowd again made her want to run away. But the teacher's kindness was a small light in the darkness. After a moment, she nodded quietly. The rest of the night was a blur. She didn't stay for the rest of the show. She went home, shut her door, and cried until she couldn't cry anymore. The next day at school, she avoided the hallways where students gathered. The whispers were still there. The looks. The surprise that she had even tried, but something had changed inside her. The embarrassment and hurt were still there, but so was the tiny spark of hope the teacher had offered. She thought about the attic, the sunlight, and her secret songs. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end of her story. She met with the teacher after school. He showed her how to breathe properly, how to find the right notes, and how to let the music come from her heart. Some days were hard. Her voice cracked. She wanted to give up, but the teacher kept reminding her, it's not about being perfect. It's about being true to yourself. Slowly, she started to believe it. With each lesson, her confidence grew a little more. She practiced every chance she got, in the quiet corners of the school, on the bus, in the bathroom mirror at home. Her voice became stronger. She learned to hold the notes longer and reach higher. She even started writing down words that felt like they belonged to her. One afternoon, the teacher asked her, "Are you ready to try again? Maybe a small performance just for me?" Her heart jumped, but she nodded. She sang for him in the empty classroom. This time her voice didn't shake as much. It was still not perfect, but it was beautiful in a different way. Honest, full of feeling, and stronger than before. The teacher smiled. "See? You're getting there." The days passed. The thought of the talent show came back again, but this time, it didn't fill her with fear. Instead, it sparked a quiet determination. She wasn't ready to face the crowd just yet, but she was getting closer. She found new strength in the small victories. A note hit right. A song remembered, a smile from her teacher. Though the memory of laughter still hurt, it no longer stopped her. She was learning that mistakes didn't mean failure. They meant trying, and that was the beginning of something new. After weeks of quiet practice, something began to change inside her. It was not a sudden transformation, but a slow, steady shift, like the first light of dawn pushing away the night. Each time she sang, even when no one was listening, she felt a little stronger. The voice that once trembled now had more confidence. The fear that used to hold her back began to loosen its grip. At school, she kept a low profile, still wary of the whispers and the looks. But she no longer avoided the music room or the teacher who had believed in her. Their after-school sessions became a small, safe world where she could grow without judgment. He never pushed too hard, never made her feel rushed. Instead, he guided her gently, showing her how to breathe, how to listen to the music inside her, and how to let that music flow naturally. One afternoon, after a lesson, the teacher said quietly, "There's a small event next month at the community center. It's a chance for young people to share their talents, but it's more relaxed than the school talent show. No judges, no competition, just a stage and people who want to listen. Would you like to try?" Her heart pounded at the thought. This was different from before, less pressure, fewer eyes watching with doubt. She hesitated, but the teacher's warm smile gave her courage. "Yes," she whispered. From that moment, she began to prepare. This time, she didn't practice just to get the notes right. She practiced to tell a story. She picked songs that meant something to her, songs that spoke about hope, fear, and the quiet strength inside. She learned how to calm her nerves before singing. Sometimes she stood in front of the mirror and imagined the audience was just one person, someone kind and patient. She found ways to breathe deeply, to feel the music in her chest, and to let her voice follow. Her family noticed some changes too. One evening, while she sang softly in the kitchen, her mother paused and smiled. "You're getting better," she said. It was a small thing, but it meant the world. Her father nodded too, not saying much but looking proud. Her brother, who once ignored her, started to ask about the songs she liked. He even said, "Maybe you should sing for us sometime." It was awkward and shy, but she took it as a sign that she was no longer invisible. At school, the murmurs didn't stop completely, but she found a few quiet classmates who offered kind words. One girl, who also loved music, told her, "Your voice is different in a good way. Keep going." That small encouragement gave her fuel. The day of the community event arrived. It was held in a simple hall, with chairs arranged in rows and a small stage lit by soft lights. The room was filled with parents, friends, and neighbors. The atmosphere was warm and welcoming, nothing like the cold, crowded auditorium of the school talent show. Backstage, she felt the familiar flutter of nerves, but this time it was mixed with excitement. The teacher squeezed her hand gently and said, "Remember, this is your moment. Just be yourself." When her turn came, she walked onto the stage with steady steps. The microphone felt lighter in her hands. The audience looked friendly, smiling, waiting to listen. She closed her eyes for a moment, took a deep breath, and began to sing. Her voice filled the room, clear and honest. The song was not about being perfect, but about finding courage when everything feels difficult. With each note, she told her story. The fear, the laughter, the hope. The audience was silent, but she could feel their attention, their hearts open to her words. When she finished, the applause was gentle but sincere. Some faces showed surprise, others admiration. She smiled, feeling something she had never felt before: acceptance. After the performance, people came to talk to her. A woman said, "You have a gift. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." A young boy asked if she would teach him to sing. Her teacher looked on with pride. That night, she walked home under the stars, her heart light. The journey was just beginning, but for the first time she believed she had a place in the world of music. The laughter of the past still echoed sometimes, but it no longer held power over her. Instead, she used it as a reminder, a reason to keep going. She was no longer just the quiet girl in the back of the classroom. She was a voice growing stronger, ready to be heard. The day everyone had been waiting for was finally here. The big school talent show, the same one where she had once felt the sting of laughter. But this time she was different. She wasn't the same quiet girl trembling at the back of the classroom. She had practiced, learned, and grown in ways she never thought possible. She woke up early, her heart beating fast, but instead of fear, there was a quiet excitement. She chose her outfit carefully, something simple but neat. She looked at herself in the mirror, took a deep breath, and said quietly, "I'm ready." At school, the halls were buzzing with energy. Students were talking about the show, some nervous, some confident. This time, when she walked through the crowd, the whispers were softer. Some people smiled, others nodded with respect. She caught a few glances that felt more like encouragement than doubt. Backstage, the atmosphere was different from before. There was still noise and movement, but she wasn't overwhelmed. She had learned to breathe through the nervousness. The music teacher was there, smiling warmly. "You've come so far," he said. "No matter what happens out there, you've already won." She smiled back, feeling a wave of calm wash over her. The announcer called her name. She stood up, heart pounding but steady. Walking onto the stage felt familiar now, but the light still shone brightly and the audience was large. She could see faces, some she knew, some strangers, all waiting to listen. She took a moment, closed her eyes, and felt the music rise inside her. Then she sang. This time, her voice was strong and clear. The notes flowed smoothly, filled with emotion. She sang not just with her voice, but with her whole heart. The song was about courage, hope, and the power to rise after falling. The auditorium was silent, completely still. Everyone was listening. The sound of her voice filled the room, wrapping around the walls and reaching every corner. She felt a connection she had never felt before, a bridge between her and the people watching. The fear she once felt melted away, replaced by something powerful and real. When the last note faded, the silence was broken by the loudest applause she had ever heard. People stood up, clapping and cheering. Some wiped tears from their eyes. She smiled, feeling warmth and pride fill her chest. As she stepped off the stage, the music teacher met her with a proud hug. "You brought the house down," he whispered. The rest of the night was a blur of congratulations and happy faces. Even those who had once doubted her now came to say kind words. A few classmates who had laughed before looked at her differently, their expressions mixed with surprise and respect. That night, she knew something had changed. It wasn't just about singing or winning a prize. It was about finding her voice, not only in music but in life. She realized that the laughter, the fear, and the mistakes were all part of the journey. They didn't define her. They shaped her into someone stronger. She dreamed of singing on bigger stages, sharing her songs with more people, and inspiring others who felt invisible or scared. But for now, she was content to hold this moment close, the moment when she stood tall and sang from her soul. After that unforgettable night at the talent show, things began to change, slowly but surely. The girl who once felt invisible was now someone people talked about. Not because she was loud or flashy, but because she had found something real, her own voice. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't fast. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. The challenges didn't disappear. But inside her there was a new sense of strength and hope. She kept practicing, writing songs, and dreaming. Her music teacher continued to support her, always encouraging and believing in her. Sometimes, when she doubted herself, he reminded her, "Remember why you started. It's not about being the best, but about being true." She began to perform in small local events and at the library and community gatherings, even in school assemblies. Each time she sang, her confidence grew. She wasn't perfect, and that was okay. What mattered was that she was sharing her story and touching people's hearts. Her family noticed the change too. They saw the sparkle in her eyes, the way she carried herself differently. Her mother, a